What is up, my friends? How are we? And you are very welcome along to what is a late night agenda here on Anfield Agenda. So much to go through, including Arsenal's heartbreaking loss over in Paris against PSG. One that I'm sure will absolutely be breaking Mikel Arteta's little Lego heart. And no, I don't care. I don't have any sympathy. I can't. I'm sorry. I am that guy right now. Lee Gunner has my sympathy. Some of those decent Arsenal fans have my sympathy, but the rest of them, well, another season, another failure, another Arteta choke. And we're also going to discuss the small matter of Liverpool apparently opening conversations around Kevin De Bruyne, which is insane to say, but DiMarzio apparently reporting that that is the case. So we're going to try and figure out how realistic that is, what it might look like, as well as, of course, taking a little bit of time out of our day just to reflect on Arsenal's failures once again to deliver on anything other than, second place, if they can hold on to that. Look, I don't care, by the way. They deserve every bit of this. They do. The good Arsenal fans, to you guys, I'm sorry. Heartbreak, I know. But to the serious Arsenal fans, I want to know, when does Arteta get sacked? I know that sounds really harsh, but think about it. He has delivered one FA Cup in his first season, and since then, £700 or £800 spent, and ne'er a trophy to be had. Now, I would argue that at any other club that considers himself a top club, the manager's position would come under threat. This is another season that Arsenal have won nothing. So at what point does Arteta get the boot? Genuinely, I think it's a fair question. You can't keep being this defensive and only looking to change games when it becomes desperation stakes. Arsenal did start that game well tonight, but I just don't care because I'm fucking delighted. I am. I despise PSG, but I never realised quite how much I didn't like Arsenal until tonight when PSG scored and I leapt up out of my chair. Because I don't like PSG and what they stand for, what they were as a club, what they are as a club, but at least I don't have to listen to their fans week after week comparing Saka, the golden boy. I'm just saying, by the way, Salah wouldn't have missed that one with the open goal. Salah would have scored that, so stop comparing him to our boy. Because our boy delivers on the big occasion. Our boy wouldn't miss an open goal from 3-4 yards out. Never. Right. Inter going to take the Champions League, said Adam. The Liverpool prophet said, and that FA Cup was won with Unai Emery's team as well, remember? Right, look, let's get straight into the big story of the night. And by the way, welcome into everyone that is joining us. If you can, make sure, drop a like on the stream, hit that subscribe button. But let's get into this big story, which comes out of nowhere, really, and that is the Kevin De Bruyne to Liverpool links. I sent this to Connor earlier on when the story broke, and he thought that I was losing my mind. But let's have a look at this story. So it says, it may come as a surprise to football fans to learn that Virgil van Dijk and Kevin De Bruyne share a very close relationship despite being rivals on the pitch. The Manchester City midfield maestro and Liverpool captain appeared to be the best of friends this summer. They were even alongside each other out over, I think, in America with Calvin Harris and a few others. You probably remember that picture. So where did the budding friendship come from? Well, apparently it's when they were playing against each other in the Premier League. Now, I don't know how much faith to put in this story, but we do know that Kevin De Bruyne has said before, my family who lived in England were all Liverpool supporters, so I supported Liverpool too. Now, it was a DiMarzio story tonight that's put this out there about De Bruyne, but I want to know, is this genius or madness? I'm unsure. It is the most un-Liverpool-like thing ever, in my opinion, to put as much money as we would need to into a package for De Bruyne for a season or two. But also, it's De Bruyne. So what are we thinking? Right, I have a first super chat of the night that I'm going to get through from Corbin. And also want to say thank you to Mark Houghton as well for joining Anfield Agenda FC. Thank you, Mark. So glad we don't have to listen to pundits saying Arsenal winning the Champions League is better than our Premier League victory. Do you know what, though? The absolute bias in the TNT commentary was nothing short of embarrassing. Yes, the penalty was soft, no argument about that. But going out like Arsenal went out on their sword, I'll just remind everybody, we won in Paris. We won. We took them to penalties and lost on penalties. That's heartbreak. Arsenal were just beaten by the better side over 2 legs. In fact, they lost both games. So I don't want to hear anything from the Arsenal fans about how unlucky they were or whose fault it was. You were outplayed by a better team. And it sucks, doesn't it? But, best of luck next season because, second place. Is the parade still on? That's what I want to know for those Arsenal fans. Is that second place parade still on? The legend said, can only say as an Arsenal fan, I'm gutted. Congrats on your 20th. I know it's joked about, but we go again next season is all I can say. Look, mate, you are one of those classy Arsenal fans that I do have some sympathy for. But it's the online social media clowns and those that don't ever give credit that wind me up. But to you, mate, sincerely, condolences on tonight. I thought Arsenal were going to do it, honestly, folks, in the first few minutes when Declan Rice fizzed that header wide and PSG looked shell-shocked. Arsenal pressing really high, and I thought, wow, they might actually do this, but they didn't, so thankfully we don't have to listen to them. Phil said, Kevin De Bruyne wants to experience a decent club before retiring. So look, I'm just going to ask in the poll tonight for the start, would you take him? That's a simple question. Would you take Kevin De Bruyne at Liverpool now? So, would you take KDB at Liverpool now? Right, so we're going to put this one up. Would you take KDB at Liverpool now? We'll let that poll run and we'll revisit it and see how many people say yes, how many people say no. Right, let me get back into some other super chats that I had to catch up on. Connor, by the way, the other half of our channel in the chat there, said that he's 100% on board the Kevin De Bruyne train. He's been saying that to me for a while, to be fair. He's been all over the idea of it. Gio said, on a free though, I'll take it. Look, it would be interesting. I don't know if there's any truth to this. I'm going to need some English journalists to start talking about this to see how realistic it is, but it's a very interesting story. Making history isn't for everybody. Arsenal, 6 times, said Mark. Just a little reminder there. I wonder how they're going to manage to blame the PGMOL, though, on this one. Letters Boxing said, I take KDB just so I can buy a KDB goal line kit. Do you know that there is something about the idea of De Bruyne playing for Liverpool that almost feels romantic. Obviously, I would have loved De Bruyne during his peak years as well, but I don't know. I find this one intriguing. And where am I on it? Honestly, I'm probably on the fence. I'd need to know some of the numbers involved and what else it would begrudge Liverpool of doing. But if De Bruyne was just up for coming and playing for the Premier League champions at Anfield, I mean, wouldn't say no, probably, if it was for a reasonable fee, as in wages. Who wins it, PSG or Inter? I want Inter, said Corbyn. Do you know what? I think Inter have the bottle to win it. PSG in these big games have looked nervy and nervous at times, and Arsenal had them on the ropes for a little bit tonight as well, even when PSG went 3-0 up on aggregate. I think Inter have the nous to do it, and I think their coach in Inzaghi as well has built something truly, truly outstanding there with Inter over the years, and probably get undermined and underlooked or evaluated by many of us when it comes to European competition. Marcus Music said, would it be beautiful to see De Bruyne and ALVAREZ link up at Liverpool and the success they had together at City? We only need De Bruyne for one season. Yep, it would be incredible. And look, we haven't even moved on to speak about the Julian Alvarez stuff yet. That kind of blew my mind last night. So there's so much stuff for us to go through here over the next hour. We're going to be talking about River Plate apparently being interested in Darwin Núñez. What do we think about that? How realistic is Darwin Núñez to River Plate? Now, we know that the transfer fee is going to be substantial. There's talk that it would be less if he went to Atletico and we got Alvarez, because Liverpool will be looking to tempt Atletico Madrid. But can they afford his wages, River Plate? I doubt it. They do have the Club World Cup coming up. Initially, when I saw this, I thought, are they talking about a loan? And then I realised, no, they're talking about actually signing him. So, for me, as long as we get rid of him for a substantial fee, I don't really mind where it is. But if there's any opportunity to bring in Julian Alvarez, I think we should be all over it. And I'm also getting sick of Madrid because they've been linked today with Huijsen, they've been linked with Canade, they've been linked with Saliba, so we'll talk about all of that as well. Moishe Scholler said KDB is a great sub, but yes, his legs are gone and contract needs to reflect that. No more than 250k a week. I think that's more than fair. You know, we do have to be mindful that yes, he has had some injuries. Yes, his legs aren't the same as they once were, but he's had a good end to the season. So I don't know. It's I know Aston Villa were spoken about as being potentially looking to bring him in as well. I don't think Villa can afford it with the PSR stuff. So, you know, does De Bruyne want to stay and play in England? Is this story out there trying to tempt Manchester City into offering him to stay for another year or two? I really don't know, but it all feels nuts. Like, this is not a story on Wednesday night I thought I'd be sat here discussing with you. Mahmood said, how are you? How reliable is the ALVAREZ news? Well, look, I mean, it's as reliable as any bit of reporting, to be fair. You know, you can choose to believe it or not. And the truth is, it's not my story, so I really don't know. But I can look to it in a few ways. One, we do know that ALVAREZ is a target of Liverpool for a while. We know that Liverpool would like ALVAREZ. We do know Atleti like Núñez. We know that Diego Simeone is a fan of Darwin Núñez, and we know that Atleti have been open to some creative deal, shall we say, in years gone past. So it's not out of the realms of possibility. But again, it's an interesting talking point, is the best I can come up with at the minute. I hope it's true, because I know Fabrizio Romano is still saying that Liverpool want Isak as the number one target. I would put ALVAREZ over Isak in any world if I was Liverpool. If I had the chance to sign him, I'd sign him over Isak, because you don't have the injury problems to contend with. Where would De Bruyne play if he joins us? Back up for all our three midfielders. What do you say? Right back. Stick him in at right back, mate. Sure, why not? See what I mean? Let him play the Trent role. Because Trent's got to be just getting lobbed toilet rolled at him over in Real Madrid by the time he goes over there. And by the way, Joe did some interviews, as in not a fella called Joe the platform, Sports Joe. They went over, they were interviewing Real Madrid fans, and none of them want Trent already. They were already saying how terrible he is, and he hasn't even kicked the ball for them. This is a good shout, Keith. This is a good shout, my man. KDB would be our Gary McAllister if he joined. That is a very, very good shout. And we know what an impact Gary McAllister had. Certainly Steven Gerrard credits Gary McAllister as being the one that helped him in his career and helped guide him in the right direction. Oh my God. The deserve to winner meter actually had PSG winning. Ladies and gentlemen, I kid you not. For the first time in living memory, the Arsenal deserve to winner meter actually had PSG winning the game. Wow. Have they finally found a way to be realistic, the Arsenal fan base? It is, on the deserve to win meter, 36% Arsenal to win, 49% PSG to win. There you go. Wow, the deserve to winner meter has been humbled. Who would have thought we'd be talking about that? Sorry, I can't stop smirking. I can't help it. Sorry, I am in jovial form tonight, because I hope to God that Arsenal were going to crash out, and they did. And on top of that, you've got De Bruyne to Liverpool story, Julian Alvarez, just so much stuff to go through. Right, let's get into some of the news, because there is more. Let's talk about Frimpong as well, because this piece from Football Insider said that Liverpool have opened talks with Bayer Leverkusen for the signing of Jeremy Frimpong. The Premier League champion see Frimpong as a replacement for Trent Alexander-Arnold, according to Football Insider. My head's about to explode. There's just so much stuff coming at once here. I don't know where to... I'm like a child in a sweet shop. A big, fat, bald child in a sweet shop. Arsenal fans come out with some weird graphs. Craig, honestly, they've all become mathematicians, said the Liverpool prophet. Okay, as a mentor and Milner type, I could maybe see it, said Scott Engerson. Videos are coming out, Kevin De Bruyne as a kid saying Liverpool are his favourite club. Yeah, and there's pictures of him in a Liverpool shirt as well. So let's check in on the poll, because we did ask you guys, would you take De Bruyne at Liverpool? Keep voting. We've already had over 2,000 votes, by the way, so we're going to leave this one running a little bit longer. But as you can see, well, maybe you can't. So far, it's very much in the yes camp. People are saying they would absolutely have Kevin De Bruyne at Liverpool. Cal said, For your information, Lego man, Arsenal still need a point to avoid the lowest ever runners-up total. Current lowest stats, 1997, Arsenal 68, and 2001, Arsenal 70. Yeah, so can we talk about Arteta for a second? Because I don't know if anybody informed Mikel of this, but in his pre-PSG press conference, I believe it was, he was talking about the fact that they finished runners-up with more points than Liverpool have got winning the Premier League this year. You've probably seen that doing the rounds over the last day or two. But what somebody should have pointed out to him is the league ain't over. And if Liverpool were to win their last 3 games, we'd end up on 91 points, which is more than Arsenal have ever gotten under Arteta, and more than they got last year as well. So somebody needs to tell the Lego-headed clown that the league ain't over and he needs to get a better grasp on his maths, because he's all over the shop and he's just making himself look like the bitter ex-Evertonian clown that he is. So, you know, what do we think about that one, folks? Arteta going, but we finished second. That's not how the league works, dickhead. We finished behind Manchester City with a points tally that Arsenal fans could only dream of and still didn't win the league. But anything that these clowns can come up with to try and make them and their deluded manager feel a little bit better, well, they just keep going. It doesn't even matter anymore if it's truth. We're going full Donald Trump alternative facts here with Arteta. It doesn't matter if it's true or not anymore. If Arteta just wants to say something to pacify the little fan base, then so be it. Eddie said, but we all know FSG don't like spending money. Well, this could be a free transfer. Well, you would have a signing on bonus as well. But look, I've no idea whether to believe this De Bruyne stuff or not. I've no idea how serious it is or not, but I do know I find it fascinating, and I do know it's something that certainly made me sit up and take notice. I'm trying to gather my thoughts here, but like, one part of me wants to banter Arsenal for half an hour, another part of me wants to excitedly talk about De Bruyne, then the sensible part of me wants to talk about whether Julian Alvarez is possible or not. Somebody guide me in the right direction, please, because I feel like I'm a rambling mess here. Oh, and by the way, folks, don't forget, if you do want to come and see us for any of our shows, you can get your tickets with the link in the description. The end of season shows are really selling well. Got an update from the venue earlier on. They're delighted. Might even be a sellout. So if you want to come and see us, end of season, last game of the season. Hot Water Comedy Club, by the way, is now opening at 9 a.m. That's how much they're expecting people to show up. So 9 a.m. for that last day of the season event. They're going to be opening up the doors. They're going to have 500 free pints for the first 500 people through the doors. And it's all free up until our show later on that night. So you can go to the venue, see the screening of the game on one of their 20 screens around. It's just going to be an incredible day. And of course, we're on stage then that night at 7:30. Right. Just the jersey sale alone can cover KDB on a free. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. If we sign Kevin De Bruyne, I'm probably buying a signed Kevin De Bruyne shirt for my own collection. I don't know about other people, but that would be one of those, yeah, just surreal moments. I mean, I kind of had one of those moments years ago when we signed Fernando Morientes, because I was a huge fan of his, even though he was a Madrid player. And then we signed him and I was over the moon about it. But yeah, I love that Gary McAllister shout, by the way, that somebody mentioned earlier on. Colin said, Craig, I think Arsenal should be brave and get Ten Hag as their new coach. Both Ten Hag and Gunners fans have a good understanding. Honestly, I know people might take me saying that I think he should be sacked as banter, but I'm not meaning it as banter. Like, think about this. If this was Manchester United when they were actually a contender, if this was Liverpool, if this was Manchester City of now, if this was Chelsea, do you think any other club would keep backing Arteta? Because how long is enough? You know, he's had, 5 seasons without a trophy now? And yes, he's got them back into the Champions League, and yes, they got to the semi-final of it, but, don't get any trophies for semi-finals. So at what point do the Arsenal board think Arteta has taken them as far as he can? Because there's no denying he's improved them. Like, I'm not deluded. But what I would say is, I don't think he has that winning mentality. I think he has a little streak of Gareth Southgate in him, in that don't lose is the priority. And I don't think for somebody who worked under Pep Guardiola and learned from him. I don't think he's taken the attacking side of what Pep Guardiola does as much as he has maybe the defensive setup, because yes, they can set up well. Yes, they can be difficult to score against. Yes, we know they're good from set pieces. But is that going to win you league titles or European Cups? Probably not. Ten Hag has more trophies than Arteta, said Arthur Smith. Oh, I could read posts like that all day, honestly. Imagine De Bruyne mentoring Jones. So, like, there could be a world where Bajcetic comes back in, we sell Elliott, we give Bajcetic a year or two to see how he develops, along with Trey. Oh, lads, I've talked myself into this now. Hang on, I've talked myself into this De Bruyne thing. Let me pitch this to you for a second. So, we know we've got Trey Morris-Leone, a really good young talent, who probably needs a year or two to develop. We know we've got Rio Nyamoha, who's pushing on the first team. So what if the plan would be bring De Bruyne in for a year or two, allow Trey to go out on loan, get experience, see where Bajcecic's best position is going to be, and in the meantime, you have Kevin De Bruyne there to fill that void while you've sold maybe Harvey Elliott. You're waiting to see what Leone does. You're waiting to see if any other youngsters are stepping up. And this buys the club a couple of years with a proven Premier League player who, yes, won't have a long-term future, but also won't be blocking the long-term futures of promising youngsters. So I've now just fully talked myself into this. So, if you can do me a favour, 3,500 people in the chat right now, drop a like, and if you haven't subscribed, please do, folks. Right, Craig, did you notice the news about Forest defender Murillo? I did, and it comes from Dave O.C. Cop, I believe, but I'm unsure about the Murillo stuff for a couple of reasons. Firstly, he signed a new deal, did he not, this season with Forest. Now, he's a very good defender, there's no denying that, and Forest do look a lot worse without him in the side. But the piece from Dave O.C. Cop suggested that Liverpool have him on the list as a potential target. I don't know if it's true or not, but I know it's fascinatingly interesting. I just don't see it. I don't see Liverpool would pay the amount of money that Forest would probably ask. I think they signed him for £10.5 million, something like that. So I could imagine he would cost a ridiculous amount of money. I'm kind of more concerned right now with the Canade situation. You know, James Pearce was writing about the Canade stuff, and I'm going to read you out what James Pearce had to say on this. 1 second. Where was James Pearce's comment on this? Sorry, I'm trying to catch up on my notes here. Where's Pearce's comment on this? Did I delete it? So basically, James Pearce said that there's still a distance between what Canade wants and what Liverpool are willing to offer. There's still a gap there to be bridged. And that if they can come to an agreement, then Liverpool have a difficult decision to make. Should we sell Canade? Because you can't let him go for free. So you either have to get closer to the numbers or sell him. You can't make the same mistake we did with Trent and allow the situation to drag along. Arthur Smith said PSG winning the Champions League a year after Mbappe ran his contract down to join Real Madrid. I know, mate. It's beautiful irony, isn't it? Judas Herrera Fernandez said, how much do you think will be fair for Alvarez? So if we're talking on top of Darwin, 50 million, 55 million pounds, I'd say. I would value Alvarez somewhere between 85 and 100 million pound. So I think 50 million plus Darwin Núñez would make for a fair deal. That's just my 2 cents on it, though. Keith said, I think we can safely say we finally see GTA 6 come out before we see Arsenal win a Premier League or Champions League in the near future. Love it. Keep the Arsenal banter coming in, folks, because it is feeding me. I'm not joking. Not that I need feeding, obviously. I just want to say thank you. I'm a member for about a month and I'm so happy to be here. Love the watch-alongs and news videos. Mate, you nothing to thank me for. Pleasure being here and I really appreciate you joining us and becoming part of our community, my man. Thank you, Itachi. Eddie said, could you imagine Kevin, Mo and Virgil all in the same team? I don't want to tell you what that's potentially doing to me, Eddie. It would be ridiculous, wouldn't it? Like, imagine that. And then Alisson as well. Imagine that spine of the team. Alisson, Van Dijk, De Bruyne, Salah, and then everything else around it. Ooh. Rusba said, no chance the club would pay De Bruyne's salary demands. Well, we don't know what the salary demands are. You know, no chance Liverpool will pay what he's on at Manchester City. I'll give you that one. But I don't know what he'd be asking for these days. In all honesty, I haven't. Like, if there was talk of him making a move to the MLS, as an example, surely we could match whatever package an MLS club would be able to put together. I think, if my memory's right, Inter Miami have whatever the rights are, or first refusal rights for the MLS for De Bruyne. I don't remember what exactly they're called. Leach said, if KDB De Bruyne is true, I'll take him for 1 to 2 years. I think everybody would take him for 1 to 2 years. I love the Gary McAllister show from earlier on. That is one that I can't let go. What I don't want to do here, though, is all of us to get really excited and then Manchester City to come out and shithouse and give De Bruyne a new deal. So I hope there's no way back there. If PSG don't win the Champions League, does Salah win the Ballon d'Or? No, not for me. And not for the bookies either. Do you know what's really weird, though? So, when Barca got knocked out of the Champions League last night, Rafinha's position in the Champions League race, according to the bookies, dropped. But Yamal's went higher. So Yamal is now apparently the favourite for the Ballon d'Or. I've given up trying to figure it all out at this point, to be honest with you. But I don't think... I mean, you've got Dembele, who'll probably come into the mix now. And with the fact that they've made the final and the season he's had, his name could come forward for a Ballon d'Or. I really just don't know at this point how they gauge it, because it seems to be most years you have to play in La Liga to win it. Now, obviously, Rodri was Spanish and did kind of upset the apple cart last year. And I thought Rodri was a deserving winner of the Ballon d'Or. I think he was head and shoulders the best player in Europe. FSG will be fuming if Atletico don't accept a Fredo bar and 13 quid for Alvarez. 13 quid in installments, though, probably. No error owners. Right, let's look at this poll. So we've now had 3,300 votes in the poll, and we asked, would you take Kevin De Bruyne at Liverpool Football Club? And 70% have said yes, they would take Kevin De Bruyne. 30% said no. I would have to imagine some of those 30%, maybe there's a small section of opposition fans in there as well. But either way, let's say 7 out of 10 Liverpool fans would take him. I think I would take the chance for a year or two, because it's in an area of the pitch where I don't think would cost us in the long run. So centre forward needs to be sorted badly. Left back needs to be sorted badly. Right back will need to be sorted. But I do think we have a bit of wiggle room for one of these mad type signings like that in midfield. I genuinely would be intrigued. I really, really would. This would be like us signing Thiago Alcantara on steroids, in my mind. And then, just as I say that, Joseph Purvis puts into the chat and said, hey Craig, could Kevin De Bruyne be a Thiago type signing? I think of it that way. I'd have him. Yeah, it would just be mad and so interesting if that was the case. Jaden Walker said, Kevin De Bruyne's legs are gone, so not for me. You would certainly have to use him in a more sparing way. You wouldn't be putting him on your team for every league game. You wouldn't be playing him twice a week, and you would probably have to go into it knowing that there's a good chance De Bruyne could miss a chunk of games with injury. So it wouldn't be a non-risk. It would, there'd definitely be a roll of the dice in it, and that would have to be reflected in the package, the wage package. Chansida Mohada said, is Saka a Ballon d'Or contender for the winning nothing trophy? Absolutely. Definitely. He's the bestest boy, don't you know? There's a trophy. He might be up there for miss of the season. because, you know, we did miss from, what was it, 5-6 yards with an open goal. Now, it did come at him on the half volley, but, you know, Mo would have scored it. That's all I'm saying. Mark Houghton has a joke for us all. Why did the chicken cross the road? To avoid being Arteta's next injury crisis. I can't wait to hear what the salty little clown has to say about whose fault this is and why they were robbed. And, you know, I can't wait. I have this AI video of Arteta crying, and I've convinced myself the video is real. The bin said, KDB is good for the youth players to learn from. Yep. Right, let's do a poll on who we think's going to win the Champions League, actually. While everybody's in the chat and we've got loads of people in, let's try and see who's going to win it, who we think is winning the Champions League. So, 1 sec. So, let's go. Right, so, who wins the Champions League, Inter Milan or PSG? Vote away and we'll see who you guys think is the favourite going into the final. The Migro said KDB would be good in cup games, lower league teams. He'd be good in a load of ways, yes. Even if you needed 20-25 minutes for him to come on and just feed balls through. Imagine him feeding balls to, let's say, Julian Alvarez again, or Mohamed Salah, or anyone. It would just be... I mean, you'd sell shirts. You would sell a shit ton of shirts. What does an Arsenal fan do when they win a trophy? They turn off the game's console. Oh, I love the banter. Let's keep it coming. Keep the Arsenal banter coming. Now, look, I do have sympathy for the likes of Lee Gunner and some realistic Arsenal fans. And our friend, the legend, who was in earlier on as well. Good Arsenal fans. But the online versions and the certain channel that likes to begrudge everybody everything and belittle everybody else's achievements and try to compare their own. How does it feel now, lads? You know, because you don't get the "we beat Real Madrid" trophy, because that means nothing. Winning a trophy means something, and this was the only chance they had. So unfortunately, it's going to be another season. Now, imagine if Spurs won the Europa League. Imagine that for a second. Arsenal fans have to stay at home while Spurs had a parade to win the the Europa League. That would be very funny. That would be very funny. Inter already proved they can beat people from behind and still rallying. Yeah, look, they've been incredible. You know, that tie against Barcelona last night was absolutely ridiculous. Both legs of it. You know, Inter were dead and buried when Barca scored the late goal. Somehow still found a way to go up the other end, score, take it to extra time, then get the winner. It was one of the best you're ever going to see over two legs. It was incredible. So again, it's important to point out De Bruyne is a Liverpool fan, folks. So let's talk about... Sorry, I'm flying back through my notes here. Aston Villa. Let's talk about Aston Villa for a moment. Because this report says Aston Villa need to make at least one significant sale before June the 30th to ensure that they stay in line with Premier League spending rules. So who do we think they may sell? Obviously now, Morgan Rogers may be off Liverpool's radar if this De Bruyne story is true. But that's an interesting one. Like, they can't afford to sell Ollie Watkins, surely, because they don't really have a striker. I'd be intrigued to think who they are going to sell. Will they look at Jacob Ramsey or somebody like that maybe as a potential sale? Ben Howard said KDB would make us not so reliable on Salah Magic in the end of games. I approve. It would certainly give us another option. And remember, one thing's actually just standing out to me now that I think about it. Let me just read this through. 1 second. Is it this one? Yeah. So there's a report, or a couple of reports over the last 24 hours that have spoken about Arne Slot wanting to replace Trent's creativity. Now, if there is somebody that, at least in the short term, could potentially replace Trent's creativity, I think it's fair to say that person's name might be Kevin De Bruyne. And it would be a short-term fix. It would. There's no looking at it any other way. But if that is one of the must-do this summer aspects for Arne, then I think we can safely say that Kevin De Bruyne would tick that box, in that he would have the ability to do with a dead ball, or to open up a defence like Trent Alexander-Arnold would, So that stuck out to me as well when I seen this this Kevin De Bruyne story. There was another piece actually here on Trent that I wanted to bring up. 1 second. So one last thing on Trent, really, before we kind of sweep this under the carpet. But I was watching Back Pages tonight on Sky last night, and David Ornstein was on there, and he was speaking about the Trent Alexander-Arnold situation. And I wrote this down last night on my phone because I wanted to not forget about it and read it out to you guys today. So David Ornstein mentioned that Trent Alexander-Arnold is going to sign a 6-year contract at Real Madrid, which is a real slap in the face to Liverpool fans. Another slap in the face, because he refused to sign more than a 4-year deal with us on his last contract extension, which coincidentally brought him right up to when the peak of his career started. And Liverpool offered him a 5-year deal. At the time, Alisson signed a 6-year deal. They gave 4-year deals, I believe, to Andy Robertson and I think it was Jordan Henderson back then. I can't remember. But Trent turned down a 5-year deal, signed a 4-year deal, and is now willing to go over to Madrid and sign a 6-year deal. That feels snide to me. Genuinely, it does. And it's like, that's from David Ornstein. So it's hardly some Johnny-come-lately who's making up about a 6-year deal. He said it on Back Pages tonight. You can rewatch it yourself and see. And then Arsene Wenger said, when probed about Real Madrid unofficially approaching Trent Alexander-Arnold, Wenger smiled and said this: Real Madrid approached Trent a long time ago. So again, it looks like Trent has been manipulating the situation for this move for quite a while. James said, hi Craig, I won't lie, I don't think we will get Kevin De Bruyne. I can't see him betray City like that. I see him going to either America or Saudi. I think he's already said, and I might be wrong on this, so certainly don't take this as gospel, but I think he may have already said that he's open to another Premier League club. Now, if I'm wrong on that, I apologise, but I just have something in the back of my mind that I thought it was a quote of his for that. Oh, Ryanair are already taking the piss out of Arsenal as well. So Arsenal's make it happen Declan Rice post earlier on, Ryanair just quote tweeted it by saying, or not. It's always or not when it's Arsenal involved, isn't it? The Migro said, what's happening with his mural of him and his quote? I believe it's staying as it is. At least yesterday I had read that there was no plans to remove the mural. Now look, one thing is important here. We're all feeling rightly pissed off by the Trent situation, right? Some people are a bit more calm about it, but those of us who are annoyed by it, one thing we have to be careful of here is to not whitewash history in its entirety. So I'm angry at Trent. I think he's been a little coward, and I don't like what he's done. But I feel like we do need to acknowledge that he did play a part in our success. We do need to acknowledge that he was part of the team that's won the Premier League twice. And we can't whitewash our history by just removing Trent like that completely. Now, it's not for me to tell Scousers or people who have murals on their house what to do or what not to do. That's not my business to stick my nose in. But I think it is, we can talk about him as a Judas. We can talk about him as somebody who left and didn't give the club a transfer fee, and we can be really annoyed about it. But he is part of our club's history as well, and he was part of that team that delivered the first league title in 30 years. So for that reason, I feel, as much as you might not believe this, I feel like I'm actually holding back from how I would react to this in other situations because of that. respect, if you want to call it that, for what he did when he was here. I don't like the way he left, though. Right, so Champions League post is close, by the way. Still time to vote in it if you haven't already. Who wins the Champions League, Inter Milan or PSG? Keep voting away and we'll leave that one live. Martin Aston said, everyone's entitled to an opinion on Trent, but for me, not happy about the way he went about it, but glad he gave me some happy times. Yeah, I would agree. He was part of some of the best nights we've had as Liverpool fans. But you're right. The way he left certainly undermines a large part of the goodwill that Liverpool fans would have. Craig, Barca 4-0 is 6 years ago today. 6. I know. I'll never ever forget that. Never ever going to forget that Conor Bradley taking quickly corner. As long as I live. It's ingrained in my memory. And fair play to the ball boy that gave Conor Bradley the ball for the corner taken quickly there as well. I can remember it like it was yesterday. Ball boy rolls it out. Bradley quickly takes it. Divock Origi sweeps it into the net. And the rest, as they say, is history. Harry said, hi Craig, LFC posted Barca photos today and they didn't show the corner photos. I thought it was a bit strange not to include the corner photo. Look, it feels like the club are a little bit annoyed by what Trent has done. I mean, I highlighted the other day the difference of the two posts for when they announced that Divock was going to be leaving and when they announced that Trent was going to be leaving. I don't still have the post here, but it said basically Divock Origi has announced that he will be leaving Liverpool Football Club at the end of the current season. The club want to thank Divock for his services, and they said Divock legend. And with Trent, they said, Trent Alexander-Arnold has informed Liverpool Football Club that he will be departing at the end of the season. End of post. Nothing about yay or thanks or all the best or legend or anything like that. So it definitely does feel like the club feel hurt by this. Now, they, of course, will be classy about it publicly, but it does get the feeling that the club are pissed off by the way Trent went about this. I mean, does anybody else want to fucking tell him? Jesus Christ. Oh, does anybody else just want to fill our friend in here? It was me being sarcastic. I'm fucking well aware it was Trent, mate. And also, that's not how you spell Connor. That winds me up. That's not how you spell Connor. It's C-O-N-O-R. That's what you've done there as a surname, which isn't the way you spell Connor. But my God, just. Now look, I'm not the quickest off the block or the best of times, mate. But do you honestly not get that I was being sarcastic? I even glanced to the camera to kind of smirk. Maybe Trent strung the club along at the start of the season. Yep, look, there was a piece today that said, and I'm going to try and find it. Oh, by the way, talk of a new deal for Arne Slot as well, which he fully deserves. So let me know your thoughts on that one. There are some whispers now that the club are going to reward Arne Slot with a new deal. I think he signed a 3-year deal when he came to the club, meaning he'd have 2 years to go, and absolutely right to try and tie him down. Also, today, Football Insider believe that Costas will be sold this summer to make way for a new left-back coming in. There's also talk that Chiesa's agent is going to be in Liverpool in the next few days to try and figure out his situation and his future. Reports in Italy suggest that Napoli and AC Milan are credited with interest in signing Chiesa. Ian Wright believes that Liverpool have pretty much got a deal for Kirkes sorted out. Wrighty said, I think Kirkes, that's probably done for me. The amount of talk we've been doing for so long, that's probably done, which is a shame for Bournemouth. He's a fantastic player. Then we had the story that Liverpool have opened talks with Bayer Leverkusen for the signing of Jeremy Frimpong, as well from Football Insider. There's also reports that Real Madrid are interested in trying to pursue Dean Huijsen now, but will they pay the 50 million quid? I'm not sure. So Paul Joyce earlier on today, or maybe it was yesterday, posted a piece that said that Liverpool made Trent the first offer 14 months ago for his new contract. So let's time this out. That's pretty much not too long after the Klopp situation, if my maths is correct. So Liverpool would have known where they were headed in that direction. Trent would have had a better idea of who was coming in and what the future looked like. So 14 months the club have been trying to get Trent sorted out for, and he dragged it out and then announced he was leaving the way he did. So, and also that felt coordinated as well, because no sooner had Trent made his little crocodile tears video than Real Madrid were on the blower trying to sort out getting him released from Liverpool early. And that's another interesting thing about Liverpool's post, because the post clearly said when his contract expires. Trent will be departing when his contract expires, which is the end of June. James said, Craig, I'm curious if Trent will be getting game time in the last 3 games. I should bloody well hope not. I should hope not. I wouldn't even be putting him in the matchday squads. You know, if he has the brass neck to want to be there on the last day of the season and on the bus, whatever, but I wouldn't be putting him in the matchday squads. Not a fucking chance. What's the point of it? You know, one, let's say, you know he's going to play half-arsed because he has a move to Real Madrid and he's not going to want to get an injury that's going to put that at risk. So it would make 0 sense to give him any minutes whatsoever. Harry Klein said, fair play to Hughes, I wanted Alonso and we got Slot. Well, it looks like Real Madrid are going to get Alonso, and it looks like they could be looking at Zubamendi as well, although I'm not sure if they will pursue that, but it has been mentioned. But it looks like Alonso is on his way over there. Surely you've got to play Bradley, because if nothing else, you want to see how Bradley gets on for these next 3 games. You want to see if he is going to be the guy that we hope he all is. And we want to see as well that he can play these 3 games without picking up a knock or a strain. So, yeah, for me, it would be common sense to just keep playing Conor Bradley. Right, so we're closing in towards 2,000 votes in our Champions League final poll. So do get your thoughts in. Who wins the Champions League, Inter Milan or Paris Saint-Germain? Please do vote away. Also, Cork, we're coming. That's what she said. We're coming 8th of August down at the Cypress Avenue in Cork. You can get your tickets to our show with the QR code on the screen. It's an over-18s event. It is the day before the Community Shield. We're coming down to Cork as promised. The show is booked in and you can get your tickets with that QR code, or you can get your tickets to any of our 3 shows with the link in the description of this stream. Tom said Arsenal were at the right place, right time in the Champions League with all the big European teams eliminated and lost it to a team who've never won it. Well, look, they beat Real Madrid very convincingly over 2 legs. You know, I won't take that away from them. That was a great set of results. But they believed they were just going to slot aside PSG because of the PSG that they played earlier on in the Champions League this season at the Emirates. And I think Arsenal fans thought that that was it. Now, I've got to be honest, PSG were by far and away the best team I've seen us play this season. And even though we lost on penalties to them, they deserved to go through over the 2 legs. They were the better team. They were. I don't think we played to the best of our abilities, but over the 2 legs, I think we can admit that the better team went through. As tough as it was, losing on penalty kicks at home, I got to be honest about it and say they were pretty good. They were a pretty damn good team. Will Trent get booed by our supporters if we draw Madrid in the Champions League next season? 100% yes. 100%. Now, not this season, while he's still at the club, I don't think, but he will fall into the Luis Suarez and any other former player category. If he rocks up to Anfield in a Champions League night, he'll be getting whistled and booed every time he's on the ball, and rightly so. Not because of anything other than you're the opposition. And one thing that's been winding me up a little bit is some Liverpool fans trying to make out like Real Madrid aren't a rival of ours. If it wasn't for Real Madrid, Jurgen Klopp would have a load more Champions Leagues. How many finals have we played them in? You know, Real Madrid are a rival. And Trent willingly went there. So if he shows back up at Anfield for a competitive game of football, yes, he'll be getting whistled, jeered like any other opposition player. Look, I can't speak for every single person inside the stadium, but it is what it is now. You made your bed. You don't get the backing and the support that the Kop and Anfield used to give you. How do you think fans will react towards him on the trophy lift was the second part of it. It depends how he goes about the day. So, if I'm Trent, in all honesty, I'm getting my medal and I'm fucking off down the tunnel. I'm not doing the lap of honor, and I'm not just not fronting up to it. In all honesty, I think I feel like I have a bit of a brass neck doing that, heading off. But I also wouldn't be getting on the bus for the parade. So if I was in Trent's shoes, but again, this is kind of uncharted territory for us, so we're going to have to wait and see. The other players in the past, the likes of a Steve McManaman and a Michael Owen, they left the Liverpool team that were struggling to win trophies. This lad ran down his contract to leave a team who've just won the Premier League. So can't say he wasn't going to get silverware at Liverpool. Can't say that Liverpool weren't a competitive team. So he left for selfish reasons entirely. And that's okay. It's his career. But again, you have to be adult about the fallout from that as well. The real Johnny Sins, Craig, said, I wouldn't call Madrid our rivals. They absolutely 100% are our rivals. How many Champions League finals have we played them in? So if you don't think they're our rivals, then I don't know, man. I disagree with you strongly on that one. Jurgen Klopp would have had a couple more Champions Leagues if Real Madrid weren't in existence. So I would call them rivals personally. Carl said, never like Real Madrid. Every season they seem to give us a new reason to hate them. Yep. 100%, mate. And they're talking about Canade now. They're talking about trying to get Canade to run down his deal and get him to come on a free. Liverpool surely cannot be that naive this time and allow Ibu to run down his deal. And we do have a bit of an ace up our sleeve here. Because you could say to me, Craig, he can just sit tight and move for free in a year. Which he can. But there's a World Cup coming up. And he's going to want to be picked in the France squad. And if he's going to want to be picked in the France squad, then he's going to have to be playing football. So if that was the route he wanted to go down, then Liverpool have that ace up their sleeve. But sincerely, I just hope that Ibu stays and we figure it out because we all want him to. He's a very easy guy to love. Without a doubt, my best and favourite announcement video ever. Absolute scenes. That was unbelievable. And I just hope he stays. Remy, thank you, Remy, for your super chat and your comment, mate. Said, Scouser here. Love Trent for what he's done for us, but leaving us like this, he's lucky we're not on Sybil Road with spray paint. I'm currently trying to sell him on FIFA to Madrid for the fee we should have got. Look, I've always said, mate, I can give you my take on this as a Liverpool fan, but I'm not a Scouser. So I understand that this hits differently to a Scouser. Because it's your city. He's one of your own. If it was a dub, I'd feel very equipped to talk about this as well. So I just gonna, try to allow everyone their opinion on Trent. Whether I agree with it or not, I think everybody will look at it with different eyes. And certainly I can understand the feelings of hurt from Scousers about it. Totally get it. Adzer said, well, Craig, how's the form? Fucking brilliant, mate. Did you not watch the footy tonight? And then to top that off, we get the possible De Bruyne stuff. I mean, it's almost red panty night. Well, anyway, to continue on with your comment, Adzer, you said, will Trent ever return to the Premier League again? Not necessarily back to us. I also hate Real Madrid. I don't want him back near us ever. For me, there's no returning now. The way you left, there's no returning. Will he ever come back to the Premier League? I really don't know. It depends how long he can stick it out in Madrid. If he signs a 6-year deal there, well, then if he was to go back to the Premier League, you're probably going to have to pay a transfer fee for him. And the fuck would I do that if I was Liverpool after him leaving for free? that 6-year contract thing has probably annoyed me more than it should. Because, as I've said before, he wouldn't sign that at Liverpool, the club that he professed to want to captain, the club that he's made so much money from being the local lad, so much good publicity that went along with it. And he refused to sign a 5-6 year deal with us, but he'll sign a 6-year deal with Madrid, who he's going to on a free. That stings. That genuinely stings. Right, so we've had 2,150 votes, and we asked who wins the Champions League. With 53%, you guys think Inter Milan is going to win the Champions League. I think I'm on your side on that one, just about. It is a real coin toss of a game. I would say if both sides played to the best of their ability, I think PSG would win it. But I wonder how much nerves will play a part for PSG, because we know how difficult it is to win anything for the first time. You know, we waited 30 years for a league title and it was agony. And then when we did it, finally did it in a way that we just ran away with the league. So totally get it and understand the pressure that comes with that. So that's why I think maybe just about Inter. They have that nous, that history, and yeah, I think Inter. Just about, but I'm going to be glued to it. It's going to be a great final. Right, we've just hit 1,000 likes, so please do keep hitting the like button if you are enjoying the stream, of course, and we'd love you to hit that subscribe button as well. There is a news video that's just gone out, by the way, so you can catch up on when the stream is over. The De Bruyne story hadn't dropped at that point, so it isn't in that news video, but we do speak about all the other stuff in it. We speak about Canade, we speak about Frimpong, we speak about Liverpool being linked with some other players as well, so do keep an eye out for that one. This was supposed to be a day we weren't streaming, by the way, but that De Bruyne news, I said to Connor, mate, we need to get on here and stream. That coupled with Arsenal getting knocked out just obviously meant that we were all in good form here at Anfield Agenda. David said, hey Craig, I just saw your take on Trent before. I agree 100%. It's not about leaving, it's about the way you leave. He'll never be the same or be a Stevie G. I see Wayne Rooney, by the way, trying to talk about, well, Stevie G left. Yeah, he did, Wayne, but that was after he wasn't getting game time and basically wasn't started at the Bernabeu, and he went over to play for LA Galaxy at the end of his career. It's hardly comparable to Trent running down his contract and leaving the peak of his career. So, Joshua said that front three of PSG are full of pace, and they can shoot as well. That goal Ruiz scored was a belter, absolute belter. Where is this one? Hang on, what's this one? So yeah, let's go back to the River Plate story for a second. So this piece here, coming from Argentina, said that the Uruguay international is set to leave Anfield this summer after a difficult 2 years on Merseyside. They should put at the end of that, for the fans. A move to Atletico Madrid has been mentioned for Núñez, although D Sports Radio is reporting he's also a target for River Plate. River Plate want Núñez to spearhead their Club World Cup campaign and intend to sign the striker in the tournament's shortened June transfer window. Their coach, Marcelo Gallardo, has requested Núñez signing, though his wage demands could prove a stumbling block. Beyond Núñez, River Plate are also eyeing Atletico Madrid attacker Angel Correa. So, surely there's no way that they can afford to bring over Darwin Núñez to River Plate. I mean, maybe if they did it in a short-term thing and then they sold them on, perhaps, but I'd be very surprised. I really, really am putting a lot of hope and faith in Sam Maguire's story that we spoke about last night. Do I still have it in my notes? I think... Do I still have this in my notes? Bear with me. I'm going to read that out to you again, just in case you weren't with us last night. Yeah, so I'm going to read this out again. Read it on Anfield Watch if you get a chance. But this piece said, Anfield Watch understands that the former Benfica man could be sold for as little as 35 million. Speaking about Darwin. Atletico Madrid are the only team with access to Darwin at a discounted rate. The former Manchester City forward is viewed as somebody who would be perfect for Arne Slot, i.e. Julian Alvarez. He's a facilitator and a goal scorer. The work rate is there. He's a grafter and he can play in a variety of roles across the forward line with a full season in England now under his belt. Arne Slot appreciates the need for a centre forward who's comfortable receiving in tight spaces. A young Roberto Firmino would be the perfect solution. Alvarez is viewed as somebody who fits that mould. And here's the really interesting part. Liverpool are prepared to be flexible with Darwin if it gives them favourable terms to bring Julian Alvarez back to the Premier League. As shown with João Felix and Conor Gallagher last summer, the La Liga club are open to clever bookkeeping. Alvarez is relatively happy in Spain, but if there is a club that could tempt him to leave after just 12 months, it's Liverpool. The club are confident, but if it doesn't work, have contingency plans in place. The Reds have 3 trump cards in a potential deal for Julian Alvarez. Alexis McAllister, Gonzalo Siegrist and Fernando Troyani. The latter 2 are scouts that he has a good relationship with that Liverpool use in South America. And of course, Alexis McAllister is a teammate of his and a very good friend of his from the Argentinian national team. So, Sam put together a very compelling piece. And I would certainly say go and have a read of it if you get a chance. But it really excites me because that is the type of business I want Liverpool doing this summer. Without any doubt. I want Liverpool making statement signings like that. Arteta said, I don't think there's been a better team in the competition so far than Arsenal. I mean, he's a fucking clown. We deserve much more in both games, but this competition is about the boxes, and the boxes, there are normally strikers most of the time and a goalkeeper. Does somebody want to tell that deluded Lego-headed clown that it's his fault that they don't have a striker? Does anybody ever push back with Arteta? Last night there was the stupid stuff about the points tally in the league. Now he's bleating on about that they're the best team in the competition. No, you're not, mate. You got beaten. You got beaten because you didn't bring in a striker. It's your fault. Same way it's your fault that you overplay so many players and that Saka looks a shot of himself at times because you overplay him. So Arteta needs a dose of reality. And apparently the journalists aren't willing to do it. Well, football needs to come together and tell this deluded, bitter little clown that they just aren't fucking good enough. Plain and simple. It's always, always, always an excuse with Arteta and Arsenal. Never just we were beaten by the better team. When we lost, our manager was full of compliments for Paris Saint-Germain, as were us as fans, and we all said it sucks. And we took them to penalties. Arsenal were beaten both times, home and away. But Arteta still feels like they're the best team in the competition. Honestly, he's delusional. Matthew said, hi mate, really happy to be back on the streams. Sorry I had my law exams recently, so I've missed a few. Well, I hope they've gone well for you, my man. What a promising career that is. I might need your services at one point in the future. Want to know your thoughts on the validity of these rumours, Alvarez, KDB, etc. So, look, if DiMarzio put the story out about De Bruyne, which is where the reports are coming from, he would be somebody who would be very, 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 very well connected. Very well connected. So, I would say it's a credible source. Now, nobody gets everything right, but let's see where it goes. And with the Julian Alvarez stuff, Sam Maguire has done some good work on Liverpool's interest in Julian Alvarez, gone back towards last summer as well. So I think both of them have credibility, but what I can't say to you is the likelihood of both of them happening. I really just don't know. I really appreciate this, bro. I really, really do. Absolute gent. Said if Alvarez does leave us, as an Inter Milan fan, as his badge shows, I hope it's Liverpool. Great fan base, unlike Arsenal. Great channel, mate. Thank you, bro. Appreciate you. And you know what? I've always said the same as well. If our former manager, Jurgen Klopp, ever went to La Liga, I always thought it would be to Atleti. I could never see him taking up a job at Real Madrid or Barcelona. It just doesn't strike me as a Jurgen Klopp type of club. And weirdly, if you guys did sign Darwin, there's every chance that he might click in La Liga. Certainly more so than in the Prem. And I think with Cholo Simeone as his coach as well, a very emotional man himself, I think he could probably get Darwin heading in the right direction. You're always going to be frustrated with him. I'm not going to lie to you. If he ends up at Atleti, some things he'll do, he'll blow you away. Other things he'll do, he'll want you to smash your television. But I do think it's a good move if he goes there. Now, of course, I also want Julian Alvarez to come in our direction. But either way, even if we didn't get Alvarez, I still think Atletico Madrid would be the best place for Darwin. I don't know if people agree with me on that, but I genuinely do. I'm very upset tonight, Arteta. Look, somebody just needs to tell him to shut up. Honestly, it's just ridiculous. So, again, to what we were saying about James Pearce and Canade, James Pearce said this. The Athletic James Pearce said that Liverpool will have a big decision to make over Canade's future in the summer. There is a big decision there, isn't there? I think it's this summer. I'm told there's still a big gap between what is being demanded in wages and what was on the table, what Liverpool have offered. If they can't reach an agreement, Liverpool will consider their options, according to James Pearce, which again is understandable because we can't have another player running down his contract, you know. Canade deserves a pay rise. Every single Liverpool fan you speak to will say that to you. What that pay rise looks like, well, yeah, the landscape's probably changed a little bit since Virgil van Dijk and Salah extended and that we know Trent is gone. So Canade probably can push a little bit more for wages that maybe he might not have been offered or gotten 6 months ago. You know, does he go from 80k up to 200k? Well, that's a decision for Michael Edwards, Richard Hughes and Liverpool to make. But for me as a fan, I just don't want to lose him. I want to add to our depth at centre-back. I'd sell Jarell Quansah in a heartbeat. I would. I've been honest about this for a while. And bring in Dean Huijsen, Canade, Van Dijk. And then if you can keep Joey G around. You know, I know he's had some injuries, but I love Joe Gomez and his versatility is really important. So that would be my ideal scenario. Get Canade to extend, sell Quansah, bring in Huijsen, and then maybe bring in somebody who can fill in if needs be at centre-back as well if we're really stuck in a pinch. Nawan said 150 to 180k I'd say, but I think he wants more. Apparently it was 200 grand. That was the number that I'd seen that Ibu was asking for. And look, now that 200 grand doesn't seem as unreasonable when we know Virgil signed on a big deal and Mo signed on a big deal. That partnership, you know, some of the questions we've had over Canade were, you know, can he stay away from injury? Yes, he's done that this season. Do I think he's the perfect centre-back? No. He is a little bit rash on occasion, but I don't think he's fully matured yet as a centre-back either. Hasn't gotten into the prime of his career. So I would rather we pay the bit extra to keep him than lose him. That's what I would say. JJR said, I think Arteta needs drug testing for his response about them being the best team in the Champions League. He's nuts. He honestly is nuts. Like, the stuff last night was enough for me to piss myself laughing, saying that they've finished runners-up, that they've got more points and finished second than we have in the league winning it, as if the league's over and there isn't still 3 games to go. And that we didn't perhaps mix it up for the Chelsea game. Like, we could have been on for 94 points. Now we could be on for 91 points. They've never got 90 points under Arteta. They hit 89 once. So if Liverpool win the last 3 games, we hit 91 points and he looks like an even bigger clown. But journalists just need to stop letting this gobshite go up there and just say stuff unchallenged. Because half the stuff he comes out with is comical. And again, how can he say that there's no better team in the competition than Arsenal? You were just beaten home and away. Just have a bit of class. But then again, you can take the player out of Everton, but can you take the Everton out of the player? I don't know. Craig, thoughts on Yamal? I mean, exactly as you think I'm going to say. The kid is a joy. He is, you know, I'm going to try to make a comparison to Messi, but in a slightly different way. What I always loved about Leo Messi when he was coming through was that he got kicked and fouled, but he just got up and got on with it. Never play acted, never rolled around, just got up and got on with it. Time after time after time. What I love about Lamine Yamal is that he doesn't have fear. He comes out with a smile on his face. He tries things. He runs at people. He plays the game with such a freedom that is so rare, even in the highest of jeopardy, where it's all on the line. He still just goes out there and plays it with a smile on his face, with freedom that is a joy to behold. He is, without a doubt, the best talent in the world right now. Without a doubt, the biggest prospect in world football right now. He is just incredible. I've nothing else to add to it. He simply is just incredible. And it's going to be a pleasure watching his career unfold as a football fan. You know, I don't really have anything else to add to it, but he just looks like another huge world superstar in the making coming through Barca. And that smile of his is infectious as well, isn't it? You know, he looks like he's just out for a kickabout with his mates. Like never, you know, even in the Champions League last night, just plays without fear, and it's a joy to watch. Honestly, it is. It's a joy. I just hope we don't come up against him too often, you know, because he's going to cause defenders nightmares. Like he was turning in Inter Milan defenders inside out at times last night. Experienced defenders, but yeah, he's the real deal. Incredible. Harry James said, Alvarez type of huge signing we need and love to see. Hopefully we get the big summer. Yeah, I'm really hopeful, mate, that we get that big summer as well. So look, ladies and gents, I'm going to say goodnight to you all because I wanted to come on and react to the Kevin De Bruyne stuff. See how everybody's feeling about it all as well. I'm not sure whether we'll have a live stream or not tomorrow. I mean, if news dictates it, then yeah, we'll jump back on. But there is a news video that is out right now that we just put live about 20 minutes ago, 25 minutes ago. So please do check that one out. If you can, before you head off, hit that subscribe button, drop a like on the stream. And again, thank you so much for jumping on so late to have a chat with me. Really appreciate it. It was a great stream. Certainly going to send me off smiling. Much love to all of you tuning in. No matter where you're from or who you support, thank you. And we'll talk soon. Take care. Bye-bye.